It began with a text from Joy. "Can you please do some research into pulling off bad days? Ben and I can't even come up with a starting place. Plus, you ran out on us, so this one is your job." She even ended the thing with a smiley face emoji. So it was to be both the stick and the carrot. That was fine. He didn't even need to leave his apartment to help. What they didn't know was how often he'd been down this rabbit hole before in a desperate attempt to find something, anything really, to make sense of his life after his troubles began. The first time had been in the spring, just a few months after it all started. He was finishing a 2-hour run through the farms and woods, then back into the Triple Crown subdivision. Working himself to exhaustion had been the only way he slept through the nights. He sat on the bench by the back door to remove his muddy shoes. He heard a small scratching noise at the edge of the patio. Joel held his breath. His friend the chipmunk was back. The chipmunk edged closer, looking fully into his eyes. He cocked his head to one side. Joel did the same. There was an interesting blend of liveliness and stillness in Brother Chipmunk. He worked in the world and was always present. When the phone buzzed with an incoming message, the chipmunk scurried off up the tree. There was an explosion of birds off the feeder as he dove onto it. Joel watched a few more minutes as the chipmunk filled his cheeks and fell off the feeder to the ground. He ran back, disappearing into his hole. No more excuses to avoid his phone. "Check your email." It was from his mother. It had taken her months to finally start sending him texts instead of walking down the stairs. Maybe Joel throwing up each time she walked into the room had done the trick. She was so deeply connected to everything in the house that it was blinding to be in the room with her. In the inbox. "I heard about this at last night's fundraiser. Interested?" The link led to the Church of Scientology. They offered an introspection rundown procedure, guaranteeing successful recovery from a psychotic break. Would that the problem were that simple. But wouldn't it be nice? Joel dove into research. Ultimately, Joel decided that pursuing Scientology was not for him. It wasn't really the controversies. His own church had lots of those. It was the auditing process. Too much one-on-one time. He had been very impressed by many things. The tone scale of emotions made a lot of sense. So did the idea that we could all raise ourselves to a higher plane of existence. In his secret heart, he wondered, hoped really, that his new vision was an improvement for humanity, not a flaw. The way it changed his life had to have some good, right? Finding a wedding ring and saving a hamster's life were pretty small successes in exchange for 10 years of his life. Actually, that Scientology research was a pretty good jumping off point. One thing that Joel had learned in the last 9 years was that if you wanted anything unusual, Reddit was the place to go. They called themselves the front page of the internet. Joel thought it was more like the front door to Crazy Town. His first results were mixed. Why do we feel emotions in our chest? What is a song with pure emotion so clearly expressed that you feel it? You erase one emotion from your psyche forever. Which emotion is it and why? That last one had promise. When he opened up the thread, most of the posts were cries for help. Anxiety because it makes my life small. Or, I was going to say loneliness, but yes, anxiety because my fear of people makes me lonely. What was interesting, about halfway down the incredibly long page, were a few links to websites. Joel dove into the internet, losing himself to the research.